Peace be with you,
and
also with you. Welcome to this service of Elevenses, coming to you from our garden. Today we're going to talk about dragonflies and ponds as a way of thinking about heaven and earth. It's a few years ago since we put this pond in. We dug a big hole and we put a liner in, and then we put some plants in. And with the water in, the first insects that came to visit were pond skaters and water boatmen, ones that can fly in from a distance. So then we put some more plants in, and with them came pond snails and smooth newts. And after them in flew the dragonflies, beautiful, shimmery, large dragonflies and tiny little delicate damselflies. And I got very excited because I love damselflies and dragonflies. In fact, there are 38 species of dragonfly that live in this country. And 32 of them can be found around the locality where we live. I don't know how many you've seen, but there are plenty in our gardens and in our ponds at the moment. The ones you're most likely to see at the moment are the large red, although it's actually quite small, damselfly, and the common blue damselfly, as well as a big, powerful dragonfly called the southern hawker. And here are some others I've seen locally. Now, we're going to sing our first song, This Is the Day. If you look on the surface of our pond, there are big, round leaves of water lilies. A gentle fountain plays across the surface. Everything looks quiet and peaceful. Underneath, though, it couldn't be more different. Dark mud covers the bottom where leaves from the trees have fallen in and started to turn slimy. Down here lurk monsters, newts that look like mini dragons and large brown creatures about the size of a child's finger that will eat almost anything that moves. What do you think the brown creatures are? They have 6 legs, they have 2 big eyes with which they pinpoint their prey, and they have a rather frightening looking mask, which is really a pair of fierce pinchers on the end of a hinged lower lip that shoots out to grab their lunch, a small fish or beetle or tadpole, or even one of their smaller neighbours. These amazing insects we'll call them water bugs, live for several years like this, out of sight at the bottom of the pond. And then something miraculous happens. Let's hear a story about it. One day, some of the water bugs were having a chat. You see, they'd noticed that sometimes one of them would lose interest in being at the bottom of the pond with everyone else. Instead of being friendly, they'd go and clamber onto the stem of a water iris or a long reed and slowly, purposefully carry on upwards. Up and up they'd go, away from the mud and gloom towards the light, without so much as a backward glance towards their old friends. The water bug would push through the surface and disappear out of sight. As you can imagine, all the water bugs left behind were puzzled. They wondered if their friend wasn't happy. They argued about where they might have gone. Finally, one of them had an idea. "Look," he said, "the next one of us who climbs the iris stalk must promise to come back and tell us where they went to and why." "That's a great idea," chorused the rest. "We promise to come back and tell everyone what happened." One warm summer's day, not long after, the very same water bug who had hatched the plan found himself climbing up the stalk of an iris. Up and up and up he went. Without even thinking about it, he broke through the surface of the water. He kept climbing, but now he was very tired. Clinging on tight to the stalk, he fell asleep. When he awoke, he looked about in utter amazement. He couldn't believe what he saw. His old body was gone. In its place were 4 beautifully shimmery wings and a long black body with blue, yellow and green stripes. The sun warmed him. His body felt strong and ready. With a flick of his wings, he was in the air, zipping around above the pond. "Oh my," he thought to himself, "this is just heavenly." He was no longer a water bug. He was a dragonfly, king of the pond. And he spent hours dashing to and fro in the warmth of the sunlight. Not surprisingly, he eventually grew a little weary, and landing on a lily pad, he settled down to have a nap. When he looked below the surface of the water, he could see his old friends, the water bugs, and he remembered his promise. His promise to tell them why he had left the pond, to explain what had happened to him. Jumping into the air, he made to speed to the water surface to go back down to them. But his new body wouldn't let him. His wings powered him upwards. He was no longer built to live in the bottom of the pool. He simply couldn't go back. "Oh dear," he cried, "I can't keep my promise. And even if I did, nobody would recognise me. I'll have to wait until they become dragonflies too. Then they'll understand." With that, the beautiful dragonfly sped off to enjoy this wonderful new world of sun and air and freedom. And now let's sing our next song. It's called Wiggly Waggly Worm. So the water bugs are in fact what we call dragonfly larvae. When they're old enough and big enough, they climb out of the water, their body changes, the old one dries out and splits open, and their new body, wings and colours, is born. Sometimes I get asked, what is heaven like? And of course, I don't know, because I haven't been there. The story you've just heard was written many years ago to try and explain a bit about the difference between being alive on earth and being in heaven. It's in a little book called Water Bugs and Dragonflies. The water bugs are us, living here on earth, doing what we need to do and enjoying life in our part of the world, the pond. When the water bugs become dragonflies, they experience a very different world, a bit like heaven. They're still themselves, but their bodies have changed. They're remade not to crawl about in water, but to fly in air. And because they're made for air, they can't go back into the water. Sometimes, if you're really observant, you might see a female dragonfly dip her tail into the water to lay eggs on the plants beneath. She has to be very careful. If she goes in too far or gets her wings wet, she'll drown. That's a bit like heaven and earth. Once you reach heaven, you can't go back. No one has crossed from heaven to earth. Except, of course, one person has. Jesus. Jesus, God's Son, broke through from heaven to earth to tell us all about heaven and all about God, to teach us about God, to encourage us to live well so that we find it easier to make the change from earth to heaven. Jesus gave us hope that there is more to the world than what we see here and now. That is one of many reasons why Jesus is important and we can trust him, why we can learn so much if we listen to him, and why we can have hope that one day we will be part of heaven too. Now it's time for us to get crafty. We've got 2 activities for you this week, and all the information, instructions, templates you'll find online, and the details for that will be right at the end of this service. Did you spot these? They're jam jars, and if you look closely, they've got dragonflies on them. And we're going to show you how to make these and give you a few hints as to how to make your own dragonfly mobile. But let's start with the jam jars. Now what you need a really nice clean jam jar, and you need to get some tissue paper and cut it so that it fits right around the jam jar. You also need some PVA glue. It needs to be PVA, a pot of water and a brush. And you also are going to get messy, so maybe a bit of cloth here might be useful for your fingers. Because the trick is you've got to cover the whole of the jam jar in the glue, but it's glue mixed with water. Because you want it to have a bit of slip to it. And you've got to go all the way around with this mixture of glue and water. More glue than water, and this can take a little while. And it would be nice to be able to say, and here's one I prepared earlier, but we're going to have to go all the way around this jam jar. Put your fingers inside to start with, that'll help. And keep going round. What you're trying to do is get a nice sticky surface so that you can get the tissue paper to adhere to it. We're using tissue paper because it's nice and thin and the light shines through it really, really well. Although it doesn't shine so much today because it's quite bright outside. But put these outside in the dark when you're having a picnic, and they'll have 2 effects. They'll look really pretty and they should help keep the midges away. Nearly there with this. It's getting messy and sticky and gluey and mucky, and you better make sure you've got some paper down so that you don't ruin the best dining table, like I might be here. When you've gone round it all, you need to put the glue on the inside edge, and this is where you can't actually, and along the top ridge, look here, all the way around. That's not done very well, but we'll give it a go. So brush, pot, get your tissue paper, get the instructions out of the way, and let's move that so that you can see. And you put your fingers inside, you lay that on there, and you roll it so that it sticks. Now, you want to get the bare bubbles out a bit, but don't worry if there are gaps or if it tears, because you can actually keep adding layers of tissue paper. Try and get it as smooth as possible. If you've put glue on the bottom, which I haven't, and it helps if you do, you'll be able to get that lot under there, and this lot will go and stick in here. That isn't very neat, but it's just to show you, and also to prove that you can do it a bit better than me. So there's a gap there, but we'll just stick another piece, a little tiny bit of tissue on that, and it'll come up fine. When you've done that, you need to leave it for about 10 minutes so that it dries. Whilst your jar is drying, you can begin to make the design to go on it. And we're making dragonflies like these out of dry tissue paper and reeds, because reeds are nice and shapely and we often find the dragonflies amongst them. If you're good at drawing by freehand, that's fine, just go ahead and draw your shapes. But if not, you'll find lots of these silhouettes online and you can print those off. You can get a piece of tissue paper, pop it over the front of your printout, draw around it and cut it out. Very easy to do. The bit that's not so easy is the next bit. You need to take your jar and you need to take your design, let's take a bit of reed, and you need to pop it on like so. Hold it on carefully, and you need the glue and the water again, but you need a lot more glue, lot more water than you need glue. So let's just have a blob of glue there, and let's load the brush up with lots and lots of water, and let's just fill it with water. So you're actually putting the water on over the top, the gluey water on over the top. And you just smooth it on. It doesn't matter if it creases a bit. That's it. Like that. Plenty of water is the trick. So it looks like that. Then you take a dragonfly. Let's take this bright pink one. And you pop that where you want on your design. And if there's already water on there, it's already going to sit down a bit anyway. A bit more gluey water. In fact, it's more like watery glue. Pop that on there. Keep going until it's all done. Maybe a drop more glue. Try and smooth out the wing if you can, but as soon as it's wet, the tissue paper is liable to tear. There you go. Now you leave that to dry. Once your jar is dry, and that takes probably about half an hour, this one isn't quite dry, you need a nice bit of ribbon. Try and choose a colour that'll work well with it. And you tie that round the top, probably, and this is the bit I won't be able to do, too fiddly for me, like that. And you need a tea light, either a proper one or one of these LED ones. Pop it in, And there you go. One tea-light dragonfly jar. All ready for your next picnic or your barbecue. Now I'm going to quickly tell you how to make this dragonfly mobile. The full instructions are online. There's 3 sheets, including 2 templates and 1 page of instructions. And all you really need is card, a garden stick, some string, maybe a bead as well, sellotape glue and scissors. So lots of scissor use, so please be supervised and have it with you. I've cut out the body, so that's your dragonfly body, and you fold it over. You cut it out from the template and you either draw around it on your card. You need fairly thick card for this, probably the size of a cereal packet, something like that would do. And you can make it a bit smaller if you want. So you cut out the body like that and you fold it along the bottom there. There's a little bit there that's good to cut out. That's the head. That's what's really called the body, the thorax, and that's the abdomen there. So we'll call that the tail because it's easier. You cut those out. You cut out the slots on either side where the wings are going to go in. You pierce a hole in the bottom where the string comes out. You do the same with the wings. There's 2 wings. They're labelled left and right so that you know which one is which, and I have got them the wrong way around, but there you go. They will work. They're labelled and they've got holes you need to pierce there. Don't make them as big as that, it's just so the string can go through. There's a fold you will have there. You can decorate those, look online, see how dragonfly wings look. You can decorate them as dragonfly wings. You could cover them in silver foil. That might look really smart. Do the same with the body, decorate it as you like. See how a dragonfly's body looks. This one is a male emperor dragonfly. That's what I've done. And there's 2 sets of legs. They're a bit fiddly. You again just collar them in, cut them out, collar them in, fold over. They stick on the sides there. That's the easiest bit, I think. Once you've got it like that, you need to start putting the string on it. The full instructions for the string and how to do that are on the instruction sheet. But it's quite easy. You start fitting the string in, put the bit in there, and then stick it all together like this. And then balance the string on here, on the stick. The stick needs to be about 30 centimetres long. And the idea is that when you pull the bottom, the wings go up and down. There you go. I hope I haven't confused you too much with all those crafty instructions, but do have fun and get a bit messy whilst you're making things. But now we're going to sing our next song. It's Wide, Wide as the Ocean. It's 1 verse, but we'll sing it through twice. So let's pray. Let's pray the first of our prayers today, which is a different one. It's not one we've had before. And will you pray it with me? God bless the field and bless the furrow, stream and branch and rabbit burrow. Bless the minnow, bless the whale, bless the rainbow and the hail. Bless the nest and bless the leaf, bless the kind ones and the thief. Bless the wing and bless the fin. Bless the air we all breathe in. Bless the wren and bless the mouse. bless our school and our house. Bless the earth and bless the sea. God bless you and God bless me. Amen. And now we pray the prayer that Jesus taught us himself. It's the one we call the Lord's Prayer. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For the kingdom, the power and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen. Thank you very much for being part of this Elevenses service. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. Do have fun with the craft exercises, maybe get a bit messy with them, and do get outside and see if you can see any dragonflies. They might be around your garden as well as your pond, or in the woods even. Dragonflies have a particular shape. It's a cross shape. In fact, that damselfly is like it as well, isn't it? And that's another reminder of Jesus and the cross, and the fact that the story tells us a bit more about what heaven might be like and what it might be like to be the water bugs, to be here on earth. And it reminds us, the cross shape, that Jesus spent his time with us. Jesus is the one who came down from heaven to be with us, to tell us about God, to do what that dragonfly couldn't do for its friends. It couldn't break through the water, but Jesus can break through everything to show us God's love. Take care. Goodbye. When we came to set up the recording to video this story this morning and to tell you about our pond, I found this. It's a southern hawker dragonfly that must have hatched out last night and is waiting for its wings to dry off and the weather to improve before it flies away. So you don't need to have a pool that's very big at all to be able to have lovely wildlife in it, exciting things such as dragonflies. You might even get a cat visiting if you're very lucky, but beware, this one tends to drink from the pond.